Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarita. So glad to be joining some time with you today. I have a Kringle candle haul, and sorry, something in my mouth. I believe, although it's been a good week or week and a half since I received these, I think these are two purchases rather than just one. I think one of them was, they had a really great sale. By the way, can you believe these nails? They're ridiculous. It looked like a jack-o'-lantern. But that's appropriate because we have Halloween candles to talk about here from Kringle. So yes, one of the orders was these special mediums because I do love the medium format and I do love the country candle line. So when they have a sale, I'm there for it, like a good sale. So I bought several of these as well as, oh, it was the Labor Day thing. The Labor Day sale, and they had several like discontinued fragrances that they were clearancing off at a really good price point too. So that was one order. And then slightly before that was the order of Halloween candles. Let me grab these. They're not quite in my vicinity. Halloween candles. And then they were also at the time running a 3-wick candle sale. So I got some 3 wicks and I took that moment because it was the first time that I had ordered from Kringle in a really long time to order lots of wax melts, specifically for some of the new fall fragrances that I was a little bit curious about, or even if I wasn't terribly curious, I just thought, oh, what the heck? I'm paying for shipping. I'm getting a big order. Let's smell some of these things, even if I'm kind of skeptical. So all told, we have a pretty sizable haul here. I know that the reserve candles, the fall reserve candles just came out on Thursday. And honestly, I was going to buy them. I was going to buy a lot of them. And I had a really pretty good cart going. And then at the last minute decided not to order them. And I'm going to wait on that conversation until the end of the video. So let's just talk about the candles that I've got here. And then toward the end, I have some thoughts about Kringle and about, I think, my policy going forward with ordering Kringle new releases. Okay, so let's start. Should we start out with the Halloween ones? I don't know. Actually, let's do this. Let's start out with the 3 wicks, okay? So the 3 wicks that I bought, one was a repurchase. And that is, I've never had it in this like fancy 3 wick though, which is a little bit, I mean, it's just kind of a generic wraparound. I don't know that it's like extravagant looking for sure. It is one of their painted ones, so it is a little on the streaky side as well, but you know, God bless. This is Desert Oud, which also has a really fantastic label too. So I've repurchased Desert Oud a couple times. Desert Oud it's in my Hall of Fame summer candle. There is just something about this fragrance. It's one of my favorite fragrances from Kringle. I am just loving it. I'm loving it. Ugh, it's so soothing. It's got this like kind of deep like a Palo Santo note in it or something similar. Oh, I guess there's notes here on the bottom. How great is that? Oud. It's oud, not Palo Santo, but similar. Oud, bergamot, cardamom, jasmine, incense, guaiac wood. Oh, there's guaiac wood too. Vetiver and cedar wood. Okay, so okay, I wasn't too far off with that. Although this candle is very bright, like I'm getting more bergamot and jasmine than I should be getting. If I recall correctly, some of the other pours are a little bit basier than this, but you know, once I burn it, it's probably fine. It was originally rolled out as 100% soy, so there shouldn't have been any major reformulation with that, but this is one of my favorite candles. And I've never tried it with 3 wicks. And it does struggle with strength and throw. It's one of those fantastic fragrances that I love and that I will continue to repurchase despite the fact that it has lighter strength and throw than I would prefer. But we'll try with the 3 wick. We'll try with the 3 wick. I'm not in love with the aesthetic or frankly with the shape and profile of these 3 wicks. I much prefer the like very Kringle looking like modern tumblers that look like, I don't know, Doric columns or something. I much prefer this or the country candle kind of size. I just think those two are so evocatively Kringle, whereas this other thing is just kind of like a Bath and Body Works knockoff. But God bless, I mean, the way that they're going, they need an extra wick. So what can you say, right? All right, so one of the candles that I bought three wicks. That was the first one, and it was a repurchase. Then I bought 2 new ones from the fall line that I felt fairly confident with when I like watched all the brand ambassadors things. And they are Bourbon, Apple, and Oud, and Warm and Toasty. So these are the 2 that I got from the fall line because thank God it was a 3-week sale that included the new fall line. So of the 2, I'm most happy with Bourbon, Apple, and Oud. Fragrance notes on these are Bourbon, Apple, and Wood. I don't know if you saw that coming. As well as Sweet as a generic adjective, Tonka, and Amber. And I really like the way this one smells. Yes, it's just a little bit on the basic side in terms of it being an apple fragrance. I'm pretty sure that Kent would be like, it's a moldy ass apple. But it's nice. It's a nice apple. That said, it's kind of generic. But it has this like musky woody thing underneath. I do have to be perfectly honest. There is a strange, almost medicinal / herbal note sitting somewhere in between the apple and the wood and musk. I don't know what it is, but it kind of throws the candle just a tiny bit. And sometimes I pick up on it and sometimes I don't. Bizarre. And there's nothing here in the list that would prepare you for whatever that herbal note is. Sometimes I think it's a mint note. Sometimes I think it's like it's almost menthol a little bit, or like I don't know, a juniper or something. I'm just not sure that it goes in this candle, and maybe it's just a phantom note that like, I don't know why I'm smelling it, but it's a little bit strange. However, maybe it's just weird and upon burning it, it'll go away. But I'm fairly happy with this candle. It's very mid-range. It's not particularly bassy, even with all of those woods and actually, we don't know how many woods there are because all it says is wood generic. Who knows? But it's a light touch with the musk and with the wood. It's mostly apple, so it's pretty linear and it's pretty much in the mid-range. And it's a pretty basic apple candle, but a nice one. And I appreciate that there's a little bit of a nuance of something else in there. So we'll burn it up and we'll see how that goes. You know, even a basic but good apple candle is something that you kind of enjoy in September, so that's fine. This one is bizarre, and I have to be honest, if I had smelled it before, I would not have bought it. So this is Warm and Toasty. Am I the only one that like, I just hate it when like the painted thing doesn't go down. I just think it lends a cheapness to it. Okay, it's fine. All right, so the notes on this one are cedar, smoke, sweet, again as an adjective, marshmallow, amber, and sugar. A lot of sweet, some smoke, and some wood. So it's setting itself up to kind of be like a marshmallow fireside, I think. And believe me, like all the brand ambassadors were like, whoa, when they smelled it, you know? And there might have even been some things said like, not for the faint of heart or something like that. Maybe the marshmallow will soften it up. I don't know. For some reason, these comments went in one ear, out the other. And then I smelled it and I was like, what the actual, you know what? What on earth is this candle? Like, this is a revolting candle. Now, that said, I think this is why I'm not a brand ambassador. Whoa! Like, that is just like, okay, so do you know what this candle reminded me of? And I have it sitting right here. This reminds me, like, it's that, like, off-putting of a smell that reminds me of black cats and bats. Do you remember that candle? And my friends, I have it right here for you. Ta-da! Do we remember Black Cats and Bats from last Halloween? So the notes on this one are black pepper, tobacco leaves, smoked suede, pine sap, red cedar, velvet, oak moss, warm amber. So other than the amber, there's really... And smoked. It says smoked suede. So we do have a smoke and we do have a warm amber here. Other than that, no other shared notes with this warm and cozy. Okay, yes, this one is more palatable than this one, but I would say they're kind of like cousins. Like this is the more palatable cousin. This is the real acquired taste one, but they're still cousins. There is, for lack of a better word, there is almost like a burnt plastic or even sulfur smell to this, and certainly to this. Oh, I mean, this is just like burning rubber. Burning rubber, sulfur. I mean, all these notes are just so natural. Black pepper, tobacco leaves, pine sap, red cedar, oak moss. You would expect this to be, I mean, yes, they're deep and dank kind of natural notes, but like what you get from Black Cats and Bats is just straight up sweet burning rubber, as in from a burning rubber factory. Yeah, so this has not been burned for very obvious reasons. Oh my gosh. It needs to just be resold. So I picked up this one and I smelled it and I was like, oh, Black Cats and Bats again? Now, even when I was smelling it, I'm like, okay, it's not straight up Black Cats and Bats. It is definitely sweeter and syrupier, but there's still that like sulfur rubber smell that is making the smoke on this like not a nice smoke. Like it makes the whole smoke thing smell more synthetic than it should be. And it just like kind of destroys whatever authentic cedar note is in this candle. Ah, yikes. And to be honest too, I question the marshmallow and the sweetness in it too. I've said this before, but sometimes what makes their Halloween candles especially Halloweeny and scary and creepy and gross is that they add this like gooey, syrupy sweetness on top of whatever else they've got. Smoke, patchouli, all these different things, and then just like golden syrup. I said this too with like the Bath and Body Works candle, the what was the Moonlit Graveyard or whatever it was. That was one too, where it was really gross, and then they added this marshmallow note, and it was just like, oh, like you know when like trash is turning and it starts getting sweet smelling, or food or something like that. That's the thing. If actually they kept all of the like smoke and patchouli and all the darkness, wood, earth, moss, etc., and just left it the way that it was, that candle actually might have just come across as very stern and austere and earthy. But then there's the inclusion of marshmallow or caramel or apple. And it's kind of like one of those horror films where like there's a clown and the clown is kind of creepy, but then the clown smiles. It's the smiling. It's the smiling that gets you. This is a candle that's smiling with that sweetness, and it just for me goes a bit Halloween. And it's a very harsh smoke. And like I said, to me smells a bit synthetic, smells a bit like sulfur or rubber or plastic or something like that. Nowhere near as revolting as black cats and bats. But like I said, if I had smelled it before, I would not have burned it. That said, reports are that it does soften up and blend a little bit differently once burned. And I certainly hope that's the case. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Warm and Toasty just kind of smells like something comforting, and I don't know that that's a comforting fragrance. It's an aggressive fragrance that's a little bit on the disturbing side. Let's put it that way. Without patchouli, it just kind of goes there. Ugh. But maybe I'm the only one who kind of like has that impression. So, seamless segue. We're gonna go to the 2 Halloween candles that I bought. So, oh gosh, we should have a conversation about Halloween and how we think Halloween is going. The reality of it is not that many of the Halloween candles have completely sold out. And that kind of tells you a lot. Yes, it could be because they poured more, but I kind of suspect not. I just don't think that it did quite as well this year, which is too bad because really that is Kringle's marquee event for the year. They do it very well. And it was not like an unmitigated disaster, but at the same time, it wasn't an unmitigated triumph either, from what I could tell. Very unseasonal fragrances. So a lot of florals, a lot of candles that are spring fragrances, for instance. There weren't even that many gourmands, which is kind of weird because while I don't love gourmand fragrances passing as Halloween fragrances, and oh my gosh, the way that Bath & Body Works gets dragged for their Halloween jelly bean and fruit candles, right? At the same time, there are fall gourmands that you could put a jack-o'-lantern on the front of and call it a day. You know what I mean? Some sort of pumpkin maple bread and then a grinning jack-o'-lantern, and there you go. You know, a poison apple candle. You know, if Kringle had missed in that direction, it wouldn't even necessarily be a miss, and there would probably be a lot of people who would be super happy. Kringle has a weird place with the Halloween stuff because honestly, from what I can tell, there are a lot of people that buy from Kringle and don't buy the rest of the year because they are die-hard spooky Halloween people. You may have them in your life, or you may have seen or heard about them on social media. I mean, like, they are like putting up their spooky villages in like July, right? These kinds of people, actually, it's been a gateway into Kringle through this Halloween line. And so they definitely want to cater hard to that very niche-y, novelty kind of Halloween approach that they do extraordinarily well. But especially with all of the brand ambassadors now who that's not their vibe, that's not what they do. And many of them, just like basic gourmands, it's put Kringle in an awkward position with this, like I said, marquee event for them because they want to make their brand ambassadors happy, but at the same time, they want to make this like very niche demographic happy too. And so the last couple years, they've been kind of like doing some gourmands and some really spooky candles. This year, they just went in a very weird direction and did like spring florals. And I don't think anybody was happy with it. At least if it had been fall gourmands, then I think the fall gourmand people and the brand ambassadors would have been super happy with it. But like, they didn't even make that crowd happy. I mean, it was just kind of a weird, like, Philly Candleman was happy because he loves florals. He loves florals. But even he was like, this is unseasonal. Like, you should burn this in March. Just turn the label around. You know what I mean? So in that sense, I just don't think it was very successful, and I really have absolutely no idea why Kringle went in that direction. I almost bought the tuberose one, which is the Moody Witch on the Broomstick or whatever. That was a tuberose, and I do love tuberose. I like kind of those like second category, more obscure florals, like freesia and plumeria and tuberose. Those are my favorite florals. And I can't say I'm like a huge floral person. But then I think I heard that that one was like really light, and that the tuberose quality kind of melted into the candle and didn't amplify very much. And so then I was like, yeah, no. I was already kind of like, do I want a tuberose candle to burn in the summer or spring that is black and has a Moody Witch on a broomstick? Like, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of consumers had that same conundrum this fall. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would see the comment, I really love the label, but like, I don't understand the fragrance, and I couldn't burn this in the spring with this kind of label. So in that sense, like, I just don't understand the marketing weirdness there. There were a couple real standouts from what I can tell, not my vibe, but like the Carnage candle that smells like straight up like blood and metal. Wow. Okay, so that is solidly in that like niche novelty demographic. And man, those folks were so happy with that candle. Like almost they blushed a little bit to like be burning a candle like that. So it really pushed the envelope even for those consumers. And so in that sense, I think it's just so fantastic. I mean, Kringle really knocked it out of the park with the Carnage candle. And then there was like one more too, and I can't remember which one it was. Dreadful Dolly actually also seems to have come in for good reports from both crowds, actually, which is fantastic. And a lot of people were saying that it was like this bourbon apple oud, but just a little bit more spooky or whatever. And I probably would have bought Dreadful Dolly instead of this, except that this one was on a really amazing sale that I couldn't pass up. Dreadful Dolly was not. And I also had to deal with a really creepy label of a Dreadful Dolly. And I just was like, I guess I'll just go for bourbon and apple. All things being equal, I would have preferred that fragrance because it sounds like there's a little bit more intrigue, a little more mystique, a little bit more happening. Whereas this one is, like I said, kind of basic and kind of like pretty linear. It's just in the mid-range. So it sounds like Dreadful Dolly is a little bit more and possibly a little stronger as well. So I probably would have gone with that, but it was a huge price differential, and I had to account for like horror doll on the front. So since it's not my vibe, I decided not to go with it. So really, close parentheses, in the returning favorites and the niche Halloween candle collection. And then in the second collection that they did, which was like the Victorian cutesy kind of Christmas, Freudian slip, the cutesy kind of Halloween ones that I guess have some sort of controversy because like, I guess most of it is like AI generated, and they attributed it to like an artist and made it sound like it was some sort of like craft hand painted situation. I don't know all the details of the controversy. I just kind of got the tail end of it. I don't really care if it's AI. I really don't. I mean, if they had just told us nothing about who created these things, like it still would not have taken away from the cuteness of all of them. So I don't know. Maybe the controversy is that Kringle tried to make it sound like they commissioned this artist, and then it turned out to be like 95% AI. And again, it just kind of felt like, is Kringle pulling the wool over our eyes a little bit? Like, are we kind of suckers? But anyway, I didn't really have a horse in that race so much because I just thought they were cute regardless. Anyway, those were where most of the unseasonal fragrances were. And with the exception of that tuberose one, I just really kind of wasn't interested. Halloween's a little bit of a tough sell for me anyway, so I paused on those. But I did buy two of these spell ones. This got a lot of controversy too because I guess people were really uncomfortable with like the witch. I mean, they weren't uncomfortable with like spooky witch on a broomstick, but they were uncomfortable with spells and black magic and like actual witches. It does have like a spell chant on the back. And I mean, this is like kind of I think it's a Satan worshiper symbol there. So I guess I shouldn't minimize that. And they definitely kind of, with the black and everything, they were going for a very, like, I guess performative witchy kind of thing. And then on the inside, they had all these crystals too. So then they were tapping into the whole like spiritualist kind of realm. I mean, in terms of branding, marketing, and seasonality, I think it's fantastic. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's my wheelhouse or not. It makes sense. Whereas the fragrances of like the cutesy collection didn't make sense from a branding or marketing standpoint. This totally makes sense. Totally seasonal. I think it's fantastic. And I think they've really been, they haven't been able to find other flanking candles to like the tall, dark black ones. So one year they tried these black cats, these like 3 wicks. And then for several years they tried like the country candle ones that were different colored. Nothing has really been selling all that well except for the black ones. So this is their attempt this year to give us some sort of other flanker. Between us, they don't really need it. They released like what, 12, 18 of those like black tumblers that like, I don't like the black tumbler vibe like for the reserve candles, but if there was ever a season for them, it totally makes sense for the Halloween season. They look beautiful, they look spooky, they look perfect. So, I mean, that's just one contributing factor as to why those collections always sell very well. These other things are just kind of seem a little bit gimmicky and like they're kind of throwing something at the wall. And they've got like 1 million Halloween candles coming out of their ears now. I've said this before, I think I said it last year, I think they could narrow their selections for Halloween. Yes, it's their marquee event, but sometimes too much is too much, you know? And if it's not working, like why push it? Why push it? Go with the things that sell well and go strong, which is the reason why I didn't understand the florals, because like, there are people who will buy pumpkin bread with a jack-o'-lantern on the front, and there are people who will buy carnage because it smells like blood, and like, oh, the earth candle 6 feet under, or whatever it was. And it smells like straight up putting your nose in like a bag of potting soil. Oh my gosh, that whole spooky crowd, they died and lived and all the things over those 2 candles. Nobody was asking for spring florals, so that was just kind of weird. Anyway, in terms of the crystals, I'm not feeling it. There is actually another candle company, and I don't know, they may have gone out of business at this point, but like they were really huge maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I can't remember what the candle company was called, but they too had like jewels in their candle. And then they had rings on the bottom, and you could like burn the candle and then get the cheap like cereal box ring at the end. Like I don't get it. I don't think it's being marketed to like serious candle buyers. It's gimmicky. And so in that sense, I don't know that we needed it. And it made me worry as a consumer, because I'm like, how much have you spent on these crystals? Can we just not spend money on crystals and just put that money into the oils? I get worried whenever the packaging becomes so over the top that I worry about the candle. You know what I mean? I think it was maybe Greg from All About Candles. He was mentioning that about the Bath and Body Works candles, how like the packaging just gets so extreme that it almost seems ridiculous to put like a really good candle in it, because that's not the point of this particular item. It's like the snake on top. It's not the candle. And for those of us that really care about the candle, the scent, the fragrance, the throw, the strength, like, I don't know, put that money where it counts. I'm one of the people who, I know there have been lots of complaints about the cheapness of like these lids, for instance. Yeah, they're cheap. Yeah, they've had like better looking lids. For me, I don't care, because you know what? I don't care about a lid. I just don't. I want to see that money that they're saving because they're using cheap ass lids. I want to see that go into the actual candle. To me, that is wise money saved. What I don't want them to do, and I'm looking at you, Bath and Body Works, is to spend an enormous amount of the money that you're putting into this candle on like a lid that I don't care about. And I apologize to the people who like use these candles to decorate, because obviously that is a vibe in and of itself. But if you're that kind of person, like, honestly, you're probably better served just going to Marshall's and TJ Maxx. They have amazing packages on their candles that are really shitty. Don't pay more money than you, if really, seriously, if like the decor piece of it all is what you're really after, then don't spend so much money. You don't need one of these premium companies giving you a lid on top of it. You know what I mean? All right, close parentheses on that. Yeah, I didn't care for the crystals, but I also, the like witchy thing didn't bother me. I think it's kind of cute. And I know some people are balking because of like their, I don't know, their personal, like religious, their faith or something like that. But I mean, I'm a fine Christian woman, but I also like, it just doesn't bother me. It's like, okay, like I don't believe in it. So it doesn't bother me. Do what you want. God bless. There's no power in this candle, you know? I just think we need to like maybe have a little bit of a sense of humor about these kinds of things. But anyway, I'm not going to preach to anybody on that. If you're uncomfortable, then obviously don't buy it. So these two candles, they seemed like they were going to be in my wheelhouse because they weren't like full board like carnage, but at the same time they weren't like pumpkin bread. I just want something in the middle. I like spooky, I like dark, I like masculine, I like intriguing. I just don't want my house smelling like blood and dirt. Is that too much to ask? These two seem to be very like spooky and woodsy and whatever else, but also like not so over the top that you couldn't burn it and have public come over to your house, company. Yeah. All right, so here's one of the ones I got, and this is Guardian's Vigil, and it has these purple stones in it. I'm going to take the stones out before I burn them. And I'll probably like give them to like some sweet girl that I babysit or something, because I'm not going to do anything with these crystals. Guardian's Vigil is a kind of weird candle. I don't dislike it, but it's strange. It's sweet and almost powdery, like in a baby powder kind of way. But then it's also got this like austere herbal thing going on the side. Along with a healthy dose of, I think, marshmallow and vanilla. Does it have the scent notes? Oh, okay, here we go. Patchouli, spice, fir, herbal, amber, green. Yeah, I don't know that I would have guessed those. If this has patchouli in it, it's not particularly bassy. It's got to be a pretty high perfume. I'm not getting a ton of patchouli straight up. I'm mostly getting kind of that marshmallow vanilla thing. And there's a powderiness too. It's like gooey like a marshmallow, but also powdery like baby powder. And then it's got this like kind of weird herbal thing that could almost be lavender. But I'm wondering if psychologically I'm just kind of thinking lavender because of the lavenderness of the stones. I don't really know. It's almost like a mossy herbal. Although this one doesn't say mossy. It just says herbal. Herbal amber. The spice, to be honest, it almost smells like nutmeg. So it's kind of like a weird, like, but not weird. I mean, there's part of the candle that's kind of like a familiar nutmeg marshmallow, very like fall seasonal. And then there's the part that's like vanilla powdery. Bath and Body Works has a few candles where it's like a vanilla powder kind of. Maybe like driftwood something or other is like this, and there's another lavender candle that's very similar. And then there's something kind of musky. And the musk and the marshmallow and the nutmeg actually kind of go together a little bit. And then that weird herbal thing that's kind of a little bit lavender-like, but like in a very austere, off-putting kind of lavender. It could be lavandin. Lavandin. A spiky lavender. I don't know that I love it, but I don't know that I hate it either. And it does intrigue me a little bit. I'm worried about it. It smells kind of weak to me, and often marshmallow vanilla candle or marshmallow vanilla lavender candles are a little bit on the weak side, but the reports on this were that it is very strong. So who knows, once it's burned, something else may come out of it. And then the other one I got is Spirit's Call, which is very spooky with this like skeleton guy with his snake inside his orbital socket. Smoked pumpkin, guaiac wood, clove wood, cedar wood, autumn patchouli. We got a lot of wood, and then patchouli and pumpkin that's smoked. So I have a feeling that any authentic pumpkin note here is not going to be able to compete with wood, smoke, and patchouli. Okay. Whoa, yeah. So actually, this one is similar to Warm and Toasty. It is, yeah, it's a lot. And it does have a note that is similar to Warm and Toasty. That's almost, it's almost like barbecue and almost meaty. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's like a smoky like wood chip that would be used for barbecue, but to be honest, I'm almost getting like a barbecue sauce or sausage kind of vibe from this, which I don't love. But at the same time, there is something about the wood elements here that is very dry. That's good. And so it doesn't go ooey gooey marshmallow kind of, ugh. You know what I mean? It keeps it dry and keeps it woody. Almost like it could go wood spa, you know, like a dry spa. But it's got the inclusion of not only smoke here, but some, and it might be the wood that they're using, because they're using guaiac, clove wood, which I'm not familiar with, and cedar wood. And maybe those three woods together are giving off a very, like, kind of aggressively backyard barbecue kind of smell to them. Again, I'm not getting a ton of patchouli here. Although I'm not denying it's there, it's just kind of lost in all of the wood barbecue-ness. Like I said, what I like about this one and what I think makes it more palatable than Warm and Cozy is that it's not wet and it's not ooey gooey sweet. I don't know. Again, I kind of expected it to like it a little bit better. It's got these black stones, but I don't dislike it. So there you go. There's the 2 Halloween candles that I've got. All right. So then let's talk about the country candles. So I did tell you about Somerset in the last video. Somerset is one of my favorite candles from Kringle, no question. And hold on just a second.